Hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Rev Lexus for Lexus fans and enthusiasts as well as Toyota. And today you join me with the Toyota bZ4X. And you might be wondering, what is it? You've never heard of that before. And that's because the name from it actually came pretty much out of nowhere. This is the first fully electric ground up Toyota mass produced EV. I know Lexus had the UX300D out before this, so we're going to side note that and say it's the mass produced ground up EV because the UX300D shares its platform with other variants like the 250H. So, what is it? It's a mid-size SUV. It's priced currently, as of December 2023, just over £46,000 for the base one. Now I have noticed recently that the base price of this has jumped up a few £1,000s even in the last year. I don't know what's going on in the world, but just prices of things are just shooting up crazy. I think it used to be about 42, 43, we're now at 46 for the base model. The base model is called Pure, and you're going to notice that outside because of, if not the rims, you're going to notice it because it's not got the little cool mini spoiler that this one has and the one above it. This particular model is called the Motion, which sits in the middle, and at the top of the range we have Vision, which you can tell just by the style of the wheels and a little bit larger. This particular car, being the Motion, has 18-inch alloy wheels with the hubcaps on top of them. The good news is though, all bZ4Xs come with the latest Toyota safety system, which means you get the radar cruise control, you get the adaptive radar cruise control, and you get the blind spot monitoring and the lane keep assist, which even kind of steers the steering wheel a little bit out on the go. So that is a good feature. So this shares its platform with the Subaru Solterra and the Lexus RZ that I reviewed recently as well. This particular car differs itself because the bZ4X actually is available with a front wheel drive 204 brake horsepower variant, as well as an all-wheel drive 218 brake horsepower variant. So the front wheel drive one actually is able to get a little bit more range, and even this mid-trim with the slightly smaller 18-inch wheels, they claim, I think, up to like 300 miles, just over 300 miles. Real world, I think I've seen about 250, 260, which was great. That was just nice to see because the Lexus RZ was a little bit less than 200 in their real world life. So let's start with the exterior. The bZ4X is a little bit narrower than the RZ, and I'm not 100% sure of the looks. I think the RZ in that kind of two-tone, especially in that copper colour, just looks £1,000,000. Like, it just looks so good. The bZ4X, yes, it looks a little bit more utilitarian, it does look a little bit more Toyota. Those wheel arches in the vehicle are like a grey colour, they're not matte, they're kind of like a painted grey colour. I'm not 100% sure on them. It suits this car because the car's a grey colour and it almost matches, but if you get it in white or red, it just looks a little bit weird. But I like the front end of the car. It's clean, it's modern, because it's an EV, you've not got a grille or anything, so it's quite sleek up front. I guess Toyota are building this kind of vehicle shape because this is what's selling. People are buying mid-size SUVs, they're buying electric vehicles when they're buying them, and that's what we've got. I guess if the market was leaning towards estates or nice saloons, then that's what we would have, EV versions. But Toyota came out and putting in this EV. It sits quite high up, it's probably a similar dimension in feel to a RAV4. That's what I kind of take away from it. I feel like I'm sitting a little bit higher. I feel like I'm sitting a little bit higher than I was in the Tesla Model Y I reviewed. And when we talk about, continuing with the exterior, when we talk about the sides of the car, it even says electric. Now you might remember some Lexus Toyota models say hybrid. I remember the UX300D saying electric on it, and this Toyota now says it on the front fenders, it even says it on the flap to charge the vehicle. And then the back of the car, it's interesting, it's got like a light bar at the back. I think the RZ just looks a little bit sleeker for me, it looks so mean and aggressive. This looks just a little bit more utilitarian. Like, you know what it is? I would take this if I lived, like, say, up north or you're going in a country farm estate or something like that. I think that's what this car would feel alright doing it. It's just in the mindset the looks, but it looks good, it looks alright. Boot space is 452 litres, which is very decent. Happily fit a dog in there, some suitcases, and what else I like about it is the fact that it's got a nice lip height. There's no lip. The loading height is just like you just open the boot and you can slide things in. I think the engineers have done a marvellous job with that, because it's, you know, it's just a nice height when you open the boot, so that's nice. And being in the motion trim, the boot is electrically operated, so you can open and close the tailgate of the boot quite easily, just a touch of a button in the fob, or you just push the button and it will do its thing. So in the back of the car there's plenty of room for knee headroom width. It's really spacious, and I think that's the benefit of an EV. You've got a relatively flat floor back there, there's no transmission pump, you can fit 3 teenagers, young adults abreast, no bother. You've got the armrest in the middle if you want to have 2 people in comfort, and there's child seat anchors, nice and easy to get to as well. And maybe unlike that Toyota Yaris Cross that I reviewed, the doors open a little bit wider so you can get in and out, easier just to load in the child seat. So there's not too much to say back there. There's a couple of charging ports, air conditioning, little map pockets for, you know, put an iPad or map or something in there, but yeah, there's not too much to say in the rear. Up front is where the magic happens in the bZ4X. We've got quite a futuristic different layout in here. I do believe, when I've seen the reviews, the Toyota Prius interior is quite similar to this, because so first thing you notice, you get in the gauge cluster's a little bit further forward than maybe traditionally maybe you know, a foot away from you. It's now an extra, it feels like 6 to 8 inches further into the dash. I guess it negates the requirement for a heads-up display that you get in the RZ, and that's where some of the differences are, because you've got a little gauge cluster up there, the steering wheel's kind of, I don't know, a little bit closer, but I find it quite hard sometimes to get like perfect vision of the screen, because sometimes we've got this particular bZ4X has an unusual quirk in comparison to the RZ, and that's because of the steering wheel and the way that screen's pushed back and up. You can't always see every part of that gauge cluster. It's a little bit the Porsche Taycan that reminds me of, just because it blocks out little bits. It's a little bit frustrating. I felt like sometimes I was leaning forward and you'd strain in my neck to see it, because I'm so used to being like X amount of distance away from the gauge cluster. It takes a while to get used to that. I've only got the car for 2 days, and it's been a washout both days, so I've not had a good chance to experience getting to play with the car. When you move to the centre of the car, we have a 12.3-inch touchscreen. Toyota call it the Toyota Smart Connect Plus. It's Apple CarPlay, which is wireless, and wired Android Auto. It's a really nice system. I've seen it in some of the slick new Lexus products as well. Interestingly though, between the gauge cluster in front of you and the big infotainment screen, there's not too much it does out with like some settings, with some general, you know, like display settings, things like that. It does your basic, like your sat nav, your audio, your phone calls, but things like your lane departure, etc. are controlled through the buttons on the steering wheel and the little display panel in front of the driver. It's just a little thing to get used to. I have noticed using this, when I go into sat nav and click search, it's closer to the passenger, so it's actually easier for the passenger to type in your destination than if you're in the driver's seat buckled in and trying to reach over and click that search icon and put in a postcode or something. It's just something I noticed yesterday, but it's no big deal. Now what you're going to love is the fact that we've got some physical buttons and some haptic feedback buttons down here as well. So we've got buttons for the heated seats. You can leave them off, you can put them in auto and the car can just work out what you want to do, or you can manually go through the 3 stages of warmth if you want to. I've just left it auto and it's been on, turns on when we get into the car. It's 11 degrees today, it's not particularly cold outside, so it's just done its thing. We've got rear defrost, we've got front defrost, we've got some eco-friendly buttons there for the climate controls of auxiliary AC. Physical buttons for airflow and temperature, which is good because not everybody likes to go through a screen. Some nice squared off air vents just below that central hazard button, and then a power button in grey, which was unusual. I thought that might be blue, it's kind of like a grey plastic. And then down below we've got the same switch gear that you have in the Lexus RZ. Again, push down left for reverse, push down and turn to right for drive, and a separate button P for park. Same kind of ergonomics and action that you would use in that vehicle you use here. What I do like the fact is we've got some buttons that are just clearly labelled and able to push, so that you're able to see. Camera button, we can put it in eco mode, we can put it in a snow mode, traction control can get off, and then the 4-wheel drive ones, there's an X mode or something like that that's from the Subaru. You can easily touch this, the front-wheel drive doesn't have that. And then we've also got electric parking brake, a little hold button, which is quite handy. You'll be familiar with that for the products made by Toyota. And then the one pedal braking button, which actually takes a while to get used to. So if you can appreciate, you push that instead of braking when you're coming to a roundabout, coming off a motorway, etc. The car regens with the brakes and there's a little bit of power back to the batteries. But it's really one pedal driving. You get used to it. It doesn't bring you to a complete stop. It brings you down to like a creep. But it's good. It's just yeah, it takes a while to get used to that feature. And then below that we have the wireless charging, which has also got the USB-A port as well. You can plug in your phone for Android Auto. The cover itself kind of got like a perspex plastic that's transparent, so it allows you to see your phone while it's in there. You've got two decent sized cup holders, and then we've got a big central storage area as well. Now this is probably the second, if not the third car that I've driven, actually it's the third car I think, maybe the fourth when I'm saying that, it doesn't have a traditional glove box. I watched one of the videos online that said, from the designer saying, the reason they didn't put a glove box in this car is because they wanted it to have a little bit more knee room. They've gave you a little bit of storage underneath the central console here, which means you can get things like maybe a handbag, some storage for luggage or whatever you want. Is big enough and deep enough to get something in there. And there is USB-C chargers as well as a 12-volt power outlet. Now I haven't seen, could be wrong, but I haven't seen anything to do with a lot of radiators in here that you get in the Lexus RZ. I said it could be wrong, maybe that's in the top vision trim, but when I looked at the website I couldn't see it obvious, but I remember seeing that in the Lexus. It was like a little radiator for these, which is actually quite nice, but I don't feel it on this Toyota, so maybe it's just not in this particular model. The seats are soft and comfortable, they're fabric, you can get comfortable in them for a road trip, and with the decent mileage you can actually do that. I've read on Google that apparently that since COVID the average person in the UK drives just over 500 miles a month, so you will only need to charge this up twice a month to do the average amount of mileage, which is actually quite interesting because you can probably charge that from home or a rapid charger if required. And the way it drives is really smooth, your exhaust potholes quite well, the A-pillars are not that thick, so you can see good visibility out front. It does have 360-degree cameras as long as you go for the mid-trim motion and above, so it's easy to park because the blind spot here is in the C-pillar, but we do have blind spot monitoring, so that kind of helps with that. Red and handling, it's pretty direct, it's accurate, it's not kind of jumpy, which is what you want from an everyday vehicle. This is quite a nice, sensible EV for sensible people doing, especially the all-wheel drive one. I know you lose a little bit of range, but I think if you're living up north or Gale and Butte or something like that, it's going to be quite handy to have that just flexibility to take it up a dirt track or around your estate or something like so. If you're wondering about efficiency in this vehicle, the little screen's telling me that I'm averaging 3.4 miles per kilowatt hour, which is a little bit more than I think 2.8 or 2.9 that I've seen with the the Lexus RZ 450e dual motor. So yeah, we're seeing a little bit of a, call it a dual motor there, four-wheel drive, I meant to say, all-wheel drive. Yeah, 3.4 miles per kilowatt hour, which is pretty decent. I'm quite happy with that. And interior build quality, it's a typical Toyota product. It's got a blend of kind of some cheap plastic and soft touch, but it's solidly built, it's not squeaking or rattling. And I've owned a 2009 Toyota IQ, which even after like 50,000 miles and 13 years, it never squeaked. It was very well built and solid. So I think being a previous Toyota owner, having dealt with some of the products in the past, I would feel confident that this, at least build quality wise, should hopefully hold up and not be squeaking and rattling in the future. What does it compete with? Well, the prices between 46 and say 50, mid to low 50s, puts it in line with maybe the Tesla Model Y. I'm thinking of things with the kind of sloped back, so potentially Volkswagen ID.5, Audi Q4 depending on the spec, because the Volvo C40 Recharge is a little bit smaller than this, the Lexus UX Electric is smaller than this vehicle, the RZ itself is about £30,000, 20 to £30,000, and then the spec again more expensive than this. And obviously the sister car, the Subaru Solterra, and I was thinking maybe the Kia EV6 or the Hyundai Ioniq 5. You know, the Kia EV6 is a little bit more sporty. I think that's more like a large car. This is kind of more in the SUV market, SUV size. It's got a lot of competitors. Mustang Mach-E, you know, every year, every month it feels like there's a new EV coming out from other brands. And if you're a Toyota fan person, then you're going to appreciate this, because you get in, logically, you know where buttons are, it's not a big departure, you know, it's not a massive touchscreen and everything's through that, you've actually got nice buttons. So I think that's where the strong suit's going to be, is the reliability, and people that want a traditional looking vehicle without, you know, a big learning curve. And you just get in this from maybe like a RAV4 hybrid and you fancy an EV, it's an easy step into this car. As I said, I've not driven all the competitors, unfortunately, so I can't give too much comment on all of them at this stage, but I can tell you this car does ride well in comparison to other SUVs that I've driven, and it doesn't lean too much around the corners that I thought a front-wheel drive Toyota tall body SUV would be. I'm thinking back in the day of the Lexus RX 300 that was front-wheel drive, and that would just be a bit of a roly-poly thing, and this doesn't feel like that. This feels obviously it's about 20 years difference between them, but this handles to that bend quite well, 43 miles per hour around that bend, and it's pretty good. And I like that torque, you can put the foot down, the battery torque, you know, up to 50 within milliseconds, pretty prompt. I just want to say thank you so much for watching my review video on this Toyota bZ4X. Thank you to Helensburgh Toyota for loaning me their vehicle, and make sure to check out my other videos and subscribe to Lexus below, and I'll see you next video. Thank you so much for watching. Ciao.